Hello and welcome back. My name is Gabby. I am the English teacher at Options for Youth Moreno Valley. This is English 12A Unit 4. Remember this front sheet here. If your teacher prints you out your packets, this is what it looks like. If not, you don't have this, but you can use this as like a notes page in order to help you write your or do your alternative assessment check for understanding at the end of the unit. In here you'll see a bunch of different things, so preview, things you're going to be reading about, talking about, grammar. You want to make sure that you know these following things, so participle verb, form ending in ing being used as a modifier, gerund form ending in ing or ed used as a noun, so like my swimming is terrible, that's one. I'm swimming, right, it's not being used as a verb there, it's being used as a noun. Infinitive verb form using to, so in Spanish it's one word, so comer, to eat, right? In English, to eat, it's really infinitive verb form, but in English we have two words for it. Over here we have concepts, so understatement, representing in a weak way without facts. So if you think about like the year 2020 was weird. It's more than weird. It's crazy. It's unprecedented. It's different, right? It's an understatement just to say it's weird. Hyperbole is an exaggeration, usually with numbers and things like that. Or it's like usually something you can almost measure. Like I have a ton of homework. I don't literally have 2,000 pounds of homework. I usually have like 16 ounces of homework, or I don't know. I'm so hungry I could eat a horse, right? You cannot eat a horse, that's an exaggeration of your hunger. Sarcasm, a bitter way of saying the opposite of what you mean. I'm so excited for next month. There's nothing I can do next month. Next month is going to be as boring as this one probably. The lockdown sucks. Irony, the use of words to convey a meaning that is opposite of its literal meaning. It's honestly, I think of it as the opposite of what you expect. Again, I have a video that goes over irony. Irony is basically a firehouse catching on fire. That's ironic because you don't expect a firehouse to be the thing catching on fire, right? It's a sign that says, learn how to read today. How can you read the sign if you like to get the help if you can't read? Killing off the one person you need in order to move on in a movie or story, right? That's irony. Essential questions, the difference between an epic and a mock poem. What's satire? Satire is usually making fun of something for a political purpose. A parody is just making fun of something usually. But like a satire is a modest proposal by Jonathan Swift. He goes over that the best solution in order to solve overpopulation and money issues is selling poor people's babies for food to the rich. And all throughout it, he's like poking fun at how people even barely take him seriously. Like, the fact that somebody took him seriously is ridiculous, right? And so that's satire. Then you have your vocab words: obdurate, transcendent, heedless, endeavor, malicious, resolution, conjecture, censor, disabused, and stoic. I think those are them. They're really hard to read on here. You have two performance tasks. Today in this video we're going to be going over performance task 1, which is lesson 17, activity 8, and performance task 2 is lesson 18, activity 12. And then the last thing you'll be graded on for this unit will be your alternative assessment or review, because y'all are lucky and you don't have tests. In these packets, the performance tasks are at the back here. So let's go all the way down to, there we go, performance task 1. So for performance task 1, what you're going to be doing is you're going to make a first draft of a multimedia presentation. The presentation is going to be due in Unit 5, but the rough draft for the essay is going to be due here. So your multimedia presentation will start with a 3 to 5 page typed narrative essay that you're going to be creating in this unit. In this unit, you're going to be retelling in your own words a famous epic poem, okay? In Unit 5, you're going to go on and you're going to add pictures and things like that to it, but you're going to be doing this famous epic poem retelling. Make sure to include the conventions of epics, so invoking the muse, right? Talking to a spiritual force or to help inspire your story. In media res, starting in the middle of the story and then going to tell the beginning. So a lot of TV shows do this. If you've ever seen the one Revenge, it starts with like a death. Like season 1 or 2 or whatever will start with a death scene. And then they'll go back and they'll be like 6 weeks ago. And then they'll talk about what led up to the death, right? That's in media res. Elevated style is formal and exaggerated words to kind of sound important and lofty. Epic hero is the main character's superhuman, larger than life, of noble birth. So think of Hercules, right? Hercules is larger than life, of noble birth. He's born to the gods, right? He is superhuman, like little tiny drop of God in there still, right? And then in quest, the hero must complete the quest in a dangerous journey or task that tests his spirit. So he fights Hades to get Meg back. And then we have supernatural forces. They might help to protect the hero, or they might be villains. So think of Hades, think of the gods, right? That's a few things that you'd want to add into your epic, okay? So the epics below are written in Old, Modern, or Middle English. They're translated, or they're not, yeah, they are not translations of epics from other cultures. As the first step to your performance task, you must choose an epic from the list and read the entire poem. Okay, that's the first thing you have to do. Your textbook is not suitable for this because they're only excerpts and not the complete poem. You can read them for free at a variety of websites. There's a couple ones there. Some of these are very long, so take your time to choose them before choosing one, okay? My favorite is Beowulf. I love Beowulf, Hrothgar, Hunting, Grendel, all of that. I would choose Beowulf, but there's Beowulf, there's Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, there's La Morte d'Arthur. You just have to choose one's Night Tale if you choose that one. There's the Fairy Queen. You just have to choose one canto if you choose that one. There's Paradise Lost by Milton. I had a hard time with that one, so I would stay away, but it is an interesting one. It's about like it's like from the perspective of Satan and like him being, or Lucifer, and being cast down from heaven and his paradise lost. There's Childe Harold's Pilgrimage. You have to choose one canto if you choose that one. And then there's Lady of the Lake, which again you'd have to choose a canto from. Which epic did you choose and why? So choose one, tell me why. And then you're going to create your narrative. So you get to choose the format that you'd like to do. As long as it's consistent, you should be fine. So you could do it in chronological order, beginning, middle, end, chronological with insights, stop occasionally to tell or comment on the characters, spatial order, use location to kind of map everything out, or circular chronological order, tell what happens at the end of the story and then tell how the story gets there. That's kind of the more in media res type of format. Then you're going to create a story chart. So remember exposition, climax, and resolution. So you have your exposition, the characters, setting, basic situation, time, place, all that. And then you'll have your rising action. You'll be building the conflict. You'll introduce the main conflict. You'll kind of show why it's important. Then you have your conflict. That's your high point of interest or suspense. That's where you're sitting on the edge of your seat, like, what's going to happen? And then you have your following action, where you're kind of winding down from the conflict. It's solved, it's resolved. And then you have your resolution. The characters learn a lesson or change in some way. After that, you're going to fill out this chart to create your setting. So time, are you going to be doing Beowulf, but doing Beowulf as if it took place nowadays? Because you could. That could be interesting, right? So time, 2020. Place, Southern California. Environment, the White House. No, because that's not Southern California. Okay, so the East Coast, right? Environment, White House. Mood, sullen. Let's go sullen, unhappy, right? And then what's a typical day like for you? So like we'll fill out Beowulf, and then we'll fill out like Trump, right? Because let's say he's in the White House, and the White House is that giant mead hall that he enters, and Trump is called in Beowulf for help to fight coronavirus, which is the new Grendel, right? Or something like that. So what is a typical day like for you? Fighting bad guys and taking names. How would you describe yourself? So put that, what are your main goals? What are the obstacles you're facing? And then you're going to establish a point of view. So you're going to decide whether or not you're going to be telling this from a present tense, like this is happening as it happens, or this is a past tense, like this is me telling a story of what happened in the past. You're going to choose the point of view. So first person, telling it from like Beowulf's perspective. Third person limited, telling it from somebody who's watching down on Beowulf and Beowulf alone. Or third person omniscient. This is like God tier. This is like, you can tell everybody's thinking at any time, and you're looking at everybody's perspective. This one is the most common, and this one's probably the easiest to write from, just because if you want to step into other people's points of view or tell what other people are thinking or feeling, it's easiest like that. Using punctuation in dialogue, so you will have to have dialogue. Remember, commas go before your quote usually. You'll have to have your quote, and then if it's part of the quote, you need to have the punctuation inside of the quotation mark. If it's part of the sentence, you need to have the punctuation mark outside of the question or the quotation marks. Let's see, commas are used to indicate short pauses. Ellipses can show a voice trailing off. You put a dash to indicate a sudden stop. Use italics to emphasize a word. So if I'm like, this is the worst, I can't write 1,000 O's, so you just put in italics that. And then you can do italics for an inner monologue, so like me talking to myself. Then you have to add quotation marks in this piece right here. And then your performance task 1, you should at the end of this have a 3 to 5 page typed rough draft of your narrative. It should be double spaced. This is going to help you with your Unit 5, so make sure you hold on to this. Don't give it to me and then delete the file or something like that. You're going to look for if you clearly describe the setting and the events in the story. Do you maintain a consistent tense, past or present? Do you create a compelling conflict? Is the conflict I stub my toe? Not compelling, right? Is the conflict whether or not you're going to die fighting a monster? Yes, compelling. Do you follow a sequence of events or framework? Can I tell your exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution? Do you have dialogue that moves the plot forward? Did you revise enough to make it legible and understandable? After you do that, we're going to have a conference. You'll get 5 points for this conference. I'll give you some feedback on what is done well, what you need to add as in facts, details, or quotes, clarification. I'll have you cut anything that's unnecessary. If you go on to a 20-minute tirade about how Trump sucks, that's going to probably not be necessary to the story, right? Change if you need to change organization and things like that, and then proofread if your commas are just everywhere. I'll let you know. And then right here, this is where you have your rubric. This is what I'm going to use to grade your essay. You need to get at least 21 out of 30 in order to pass this. So establish a setting, narrator, and point of view effectively. As long as you do that, you'll get those 5 points. Plot and characters developed successfully with narrative techniques. So you make those plot and characters known, 5 points. Well organized, building towards effective climax. As long as you follow that plot structure, you'll get those 5 points. Well-structured conclusion effectively resolves the story. That's how you'll get those 5 points. And then purposeful steps. I can tell that you try to rewrite a little bit. You'll get those 5 points. Remember, your conclusion needs to make sense. If it's just like, and all of a sudden Hrothgar dies, or not Hrothgar, Grendel dies, right? That's gonna be weird. Don't do that. So that's performance task 1. Come and join me for performance task 2, and we will hopefully get done with unit 4 pretty quick.